The neon lights of Los Angeles flickered in the distance, casting long shadows on the quiet side streets. On any given day, the city's famous landmarks would be bustling with tourists and locals alike. But tonight, something felt different. Keanu Reeves, the world-renowned actor known for his roles in blockbuster movies, wandered the back streets of Hollywood, far from the glittering red carpets and flashing cameras. He was seeking peace, a moment of solitude in a city that never sleeps. His pace was slow, contemplative, and his thoughts were far from the world he had built in the movies. The din of the city faded as he walked past old brick buildings and closed storefronts. It was on a quiet street between two narrow alleys that he noticed a boy sitting alone on the sidewalk. The boy, no more than 16, was hunched over, clutching a cardboard sign. It read, "Hungry. Need a chance." The sight of the boy stopped Keanu in his tracks. There was something in his face, tired, worn beyond his years, that tugged at his heart. Keanu had seen hardship in his life, but this was different. This was a child, alone in a world that had forgotten him. Taking a deep breath, Keanu walked over to the boy. "Hey, are you okay?" he asked softly. The boy's eyes met his, wide with surprise. It wasn't every day that someone like Keanu Reeves walked up to him. The boy blinked, unsure of how to respond. "I'm fine," he said, his voice small, but there was a tremor of disbelief in his words. Keanu bent down to the boy's level, not wanting to tower over him. "What's your name?" "Jake," the boy replied, his voice barely above a whisper. Keanu could see the layers of pain in Jake's eyes. This was a boy who had been through more than he should have at such a young age. Without hesitation, Keanu asked, "Jake, are you hungry?" The boy looked down at his worn-out sneakers, his voice shaking as he replied, "Yeah, I haven't eaten in a while." Keanu's heart ached for the boy. "Come on, let's get something to eat," he said, holding out his hand. There was no judgment, no hesitation, just the simple kindness of a man who understood how easy it was to lose hope. Jake hesitated for a moment, looking at Keanu as if he were a mirage, someone too good to be true. But when Keanu's eyes softened, Jake stood up and slowly followed him as they walked toward a nearby diner. The diner was quiet, a small, family-owned place tucked away in a corner of town. The warmth inside was a stark contrast to the cold streets they had just walked. As they entered, the owner, an older woman with a friendly smile, waved them over. Keanu motioned for Jake to sit in a booth while he made his way to the counter to order. Jake sat quietly, looking around the diner as if he wasn't sure where he belonged. His hands shook slightly as he tried to collect his thoughts. Keanu returned with 2 steaming cups of coffee and a menu in his hands. "Order whatever you want," he said, pushing the menu toward Jake with a smile. Jake's eyes widened. "Anything?" he asked, still unsure of the kindness being offered to him. "Everything," Keanu confirmed. "It's your food. Don't worry about the cost." Jake hesitated, still in disbelief, but finally nodded. "I'll have a burger and fries," he said quietly. "Good choice," Keanu said with a grin. He leaned back in his seat as they waited for their food, the silence between them growing more comfortable. Keanu looked at Jake with a gentle gaze. "So, Jake, what's your story? How did you end up here?" Jake looked away, his face hardening as old memories resurfaced. "It's a long story," he muttered. But Keanu was patient, waiting for the boy to open up in his own time. After a long pause, Jake finally spoke. "I lost my parents when I was 8 years old. It was a car accident. After that, I was bounced around from foster home to foster home. Nobody wanted me for long. I was just another kid in the system. I ran away when I was 15. It felt like I had no other choice. I had to get out." Keanu listened quietly, his heart heavy with understanding. "That's tough," he said quietly. "I can't imagine what you went through." Jake nodded, his eyes shining with unshed tears. "I never had a real family. I never knew what it was like to belong. And now I'm just another face in the crowd, trying to survive." Keanu leaned forward and looked into Jake's eyes with a seriousness Jake wasn't used to. "Jake, just because things have been hard doesn't mean they have to stay that way. You have a future, I can see that. You just need to take the first step." Jake looked up at Keanu, his face a mixture of doubt and hope. "How can I? I don't have the skills. I don't have anything." "You have a lot more than you think," Keanu said, his voice steady. You have potential, and sometimes that's all you need. Dinner arrived and Keanu continued to talk to Jake, offering words of encouragement, his kindness like a warm blanket on a cold night. By the end of the evening, Jake felt something stirring inside of him, a flicker of hope. He wasn't alone anymore. He had someone who believed in him. After they finished eating, Keanu paid for the meal and got up. Let's get you some supplies, he said. You're going to need more than a meal to get back on your feet. Keanu walked Jake to his car, and the two drove across town to a local store. There, Keanu bought Jake a new jacket, a pair of sturdy shoes, toiletries, and, most unexpectedly, a tablet. This should help you get started, Keanu said as he handed the device to Jake. I also have some contacts at a coding school. You've got the drive, Jake. I can see it. Jake stared at the tablet, overwhelmed. Why are you doing this for me? He asked, his voice breaking. Keanu smiled gently. Because I know what it's like to need someone to believe in you. You have that chance now, Jake. What you do with it is up to you. Jake could only nod, too choked up to say anything. His life had just been changed in a single night, and he didn't know how to process it. Over the next few months, Jake worked hard to turn his life around. Every day after his odd jobs, he sat at a local library and watched coding tutorials on the tablet Keanu had given him. He practiced relentlessly, improving his skills bit by bit. It wasn't easy. There were days when he wanted to give up, days when the weight of his past seemed too much to bear. But then he remembered Keanu's words, "You have potential," and that kept him going. One afternoon, after months of studying and practicing, Jake received an email that would change his life. A tech company had seen his online projects and wanted to offer him an internship. Jake couldn't believe it. His dream was finally within reach. He called Keanu to tell him the news. "Keanu, I got an internship. A real one," he shouted into the phone. Keanu's voice crackled through the line, full of pride. "I knew you could do it, Jake. Keep it up. This is just the beginning." As Jake's life slowly but surely improved, he never forgot the kindness Keanu had shown him. The young man moved into his own small apartment, started his internship, and continued to learn every day. He never stopped working hard, even when the road seemed long. Eventually, Jake's story began to spread. He shared his journey on social media, hoping to inspire others who were struggling as he was. His message was simple: never give up, no matter what. You have the power to change the future. One night at a charity event in Los Angeles, Jake spotted Keanu across the room. His heart skipped a beat. Keanu saw him too and made his way over. Without hesitation, Jake embraced him, overcome with emotion. "Keanu," he said, his voice shaking, "you saved my life. You gave me a chance when no one else would. I don't know how to thank you." Keanu smiled softly and put a hand on Jake's shoulder. "You don't have to thank me, Jake. You did the hard work. You made the decision to change your life. I just helped open the door." As the years passed, Jake's career took off. He became a well-known software developer and used his platform to give back to others who were struggling. He began mentoring other homeless youth, showing them the same kindness and opportunity he had been given. He even started a foundation to provide resources for underprivileged youth to learn to code, just as he had. He wanted to create a cycle of giving, one that started with him, passed through Keanu, and now continued with the young people he helped. And every year, Jake would attend a gala in Keanu's honor, standing proudly beside him, forever grateful for the man who changed his life. Keanu never asked for credit. He continued to live a humble life, content to know that his simple act of kindness had created a ripple effect. Jake's life had been transformed, and as a result, countless others were given the hope they needed to build a better future. Years later, speaking at one of his own charity events, Jake ended his speech with a message that always brought tears to his eyes. "We all need someone to believe in us," he said, his voice breaking. "For me, that person was Keanu. He showed me that no matter how dark life gets, there's always a way out. You just need a chance. And once you get it, you never stop believing in yourself." Jake's words echoed in the hearts of those who listen. His life was a testament to the power of kindness, and Keanu's impact rippled out into the world in ways no one could have predicted. One act of kindness, one moment of faith, had turned a lost boy into a man with a purpose, someone who would spend the rest of his life paying it forward. And Keanu Reeves, quietly watching from behind, knew he had done something far more powerful than starring in movies. He had changed a life, and in doing so, he had helped change the world.